Hello, everyone, and welcome to TVNewsCheck's 11th Annual Women in Technology Awards. I'm Kathy Haley, co-founder of NewsCheck Media. The Women in Technology Awards recognize women who have contributed significantly to the advancement of media and entertainment industry technology, or who show great promise of doing so. The awards typically take place at the NAB show in Las Vegas. This is our second year, thanks to the pandemic, of presenting them live on Zoom. As we did last year, we're going to follow up the presentation ceremony today with a live conversation with our 5 honorees. We'll be talking about technology in a changing media ecosystem and our honorees' predictions for 2022. TVNewsCheck's Women in Technology Awards support the NAB Leadership Foundation, and in particular, its Technology Apprenticeship Program, which provides college students and recent grads with training and personal connections for a successful broadcast engineering career. I'd like to introduce Tim Dodson, Senior Director of Development for the NABLF, who will bring us up to date briefly on the Technology Apprenticeship Program. Hello, Tim.
Kathy, hello, and hello, everyone. It's great to be with you today. Thanks for having me. So let me start by saying thank you first to TVNewsCheck for your ongoing support of the NAB Leadership Foundation and specifically the Technology Apprenticeship Program. So on behalf of our president, Michelle Duke, and the entire team, I want to say congratulations to all of the 2021 Women in Technology honorees, to Marcy, Donna, Annie, Yushi, and Rose. Thank you for your leadership and congratulations on your significant accomplishments in the media and entertainment industry. As the 501c3 arm of the National Association of Broadcasters, the NAB Leadership Foundation's mission has always been to promote greater diversity and inclusion in broadcasting. So our Technology Apprenticeship Program, we like to call it TAP, is one of our key programs. And as Kathy mentioned, it's designed to recruit and train college students in the basics of broadcast technology and really to help launch them into a successful career in broadcasting. So despite the challenges of the past year or so, I'm happy to share that the TAP program has not missed a beat. And just this month, we launched a brand new TAP class. We're representing women and people of color from across the country who are interested in broadcast technology careers. You know, when I think about the TAP program and the Women in Technology event, I love that we are truly representing both sides of the journey, from exploring a career in the early stages to being honored as a technology industry leader at this type of an event. So to all the honorees, we are excited to celebrate you today and to share your accomplishments with our new TAP students. No doubt your stories will inspire them to achieve great things in their career. So I'll leave it there and say congratulations again to all the honorees and our sincere thanks to TVNewsCheck for all your support to the NAB Leadership Foundation. So I'll turn it back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Tim. Our sincere thanks go today to our sponsors, without whom this program would not be possible. Avid, Cavell Mertz and Associates, National Teleconsultants, NBCU, and SMPTE are sponsoring the awards this year. NTC deserves a special thank you for its uninterrupted support of the Women in Technology Awards for all of the last 11 years. Thank you to NTC and to all of its consultants who do so much to advance technology at media companies. The editors of TVNewsCheck selected 5 Women in Technology Award honorees this year. If you have read TVNewsCheck's profiles of them, you already know how interesting they are. But we have a short video for you so you can learn a little bit more.
Hi, everyone. Across Avid, we're all celebrating this year's outstanding and innovative Women in Technology honorees. Congratulations, and please keep the inspiration flowing.
We're going to start by introducing our rising stars. The Technology Women to Watch Award recognizes women who show great promise of significantly influencing the development of media and entertainment technology. Rose Halse is the founder and CEO of Screen Hits TV, an app that lets users aggregate all of their streaming subscriptions in one place, where they can easily browse for what they want to watch and get recommendations based on their interests. Rose got the idea for Screen Hits TV while working in international TV programming sales, where she'd been struck early on by how inefficient and expensive it was to ship DVDs around the world in order to pitch shows to networks. She switched to sending YouTube links, and sales sped up so dramatically that Rose realized she was onto something. She also knew she could improve the process even more. To do that, Rose founded Screen Hits Limited, a B2B marketplace aggregator, an app basically, that provided an algorithm that showed the right show to the right buyer based on things like territory and type of content sought. The app was a big success. When program creators started pulling back their shows from streaming companies in order to launch their own services, Rose saw opportunity again. She wanted to rescue viewers from having to browse from service to service looking for something to watch. So she built Screen Hits TV. She developed the app, as well as its technology, software infrastructure, business plan, strategy, concept, and financial projections. She secured partnerships with Samsung, NBC Universal, Sony Pictures Television, Disney Plus, and a who's who of other streaming providers. Rose is now working on enhancements to Screen Hits TV that will make watching TV even easier. We look forward to reading about them, Rose, and about your future moves in technology and business. Congratulations on your Technology Women to Watch Award.
Thank you so much. It's very exciting, and I wish I could be there in Vegas celebrating in person with everyone, but I am celebrating with my girls here tonight, and I have my award here, so thank you. It's made it all the way to London for me to have.
Oh, yay, yay. Thank you, Rose.
No, thank you.
You're welcome, then. The rise of streaming has brought new demand for multimedia advertising, planning, buying, and insertion. Yushi Xu, our next honoree, works at the center of the technology addressing this goal. As senior architect at Freewheel, Yushi spearheads an initiative that bridges the technology gaps between traditional linear TV and digital video to improve the scheduling and tracking of ads. If you know anything about ad tech, you know this is where it's at right now. Yushi is an expert on machine learning and applies cutting-edge technologies to intelligent ad planning and scheduling to optimize margins. The technology she works on does bidding for the marketplace by understanding trends. This creates value for Freewheel's marketplace and also for its customers, because better margins mean better pricing, and that means more ads, more eyes, and more sales. Advertising, buying, and selling is growing significantly more complicated as media outlets proliferate on digital, mobile, streaming, and broadcast TV, and as addressable advertising becomes a reality. Yushi brings more than a master's degree and a PhD, both from MIT, to the fraught process of modernizing media advertising, buying, and selling. She brings a bravery and a no-nonsense style that we believe will serve the industry well in the coming years. Congratulations, Yushi, on your Technology Women to Watch Award.
Thank you very much. I have my award here. So this award came to me really as a surprise, but it's really an honor and privilege to be recognized for what I've done so far, and also serve as encouragement for what I'm aiming for next. So I want to really say thank you to all the leadership team at FreeWheel who have supported me for over 6 years, and especially to our former CTO, Diane Yu, who nominated me and helped me tremendously through my career. And also want to say thank you to the committee for selecting me as this award, as it really signifies how important advertising is to the whole TV industry.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Yushi. The Women in Technology Futurist Award honors women who have invented new technologies or played an important role in advancing their development. It can also go to non-technical people who manage technology companies or initiatives. Annie Chang is known for her ability to see where technology is headed 3, 5, even 10 years ahead. She has been deeply involved in standards creation and standard setting in the world of filmmaking and media. As Vice President of Technology at Universal Studios, Annie has been a leading force in developing the SMPTE interoperable master format standard, and she helped author the Movie Labs 2030 white paper. If you haven't read this, you need to. It envisions what film, television, and content creation will look like in 2030. Annie currently co-chairs the Academy Color Encoding System Initiative, otherwise known as ACES. The goal here is to develop a standard that will ensure the colors filmmakers envision will stay uniform during the life of the filmmaking process. Annie played bass guitar in a band before becoming a critically important figure in media technology. She calls herself an introvert, but her skills at understanding issues and convincing large groups of engineers to agree on new standards have had a far-reaching impact on media and entertainment technology. We suspect they will continue to do so. Annie calls herself a creative, but she says she's not that great of a storyteller. She likes instead to enable other people to tell their stories in unique ways. I find it fascinating to hear that from someone who has been so important in crafting the story of monumental change in the film and television industry. Congratulations, Annie Chang, on your Women in Technology Futurist Award.
Thank you, Kathy. That was really nice. Some nice words. Thank you. Here is my award here. Hopefully you can see it. I can look through it. It's so cool. So thank you to TVNewsCheck and the people that nominated me for this amazing award. I wouldn't actually be here if it wasn't for the support that I received from my former bosses at Disney and my current leader, Michael Wise at Universal, as well as the colleagues around me, both at Universal and in the industry, that didn't call me crazy for whenever I suggested that we should work on, some new standard or some common projects that would be good for our industry. I just want to call out real quick to thank my team at Universal Film Technology, and then also our production support group, DreamWorks, and also the operations and technology team at NBCU, as well as our stakeholders within Universal Pictures for trusting me with the future of filmmaking strategy at Universal. And then also the guys, Rich, Jim, Mark, and Leon at Movie Labs for listening to my ideas and thinking there might be something there. And then the other folks at the studios who have been super supportive of the direction that we're heading. I also want to thank my family for the support that they give me so that I can actually help Universal in the industry with these various efforts. My husband, Steve Ferguson, is always supportive of my ideas and actually pitches in with the family when I'm too busy to do stuff. And thanks to my boys, Nick and Matt, for waiting around very patiently while I finish a call or work on a presentation. Also want to thank Steve's parents, Barbara and Corey, for always helping out at a moment's notice. And thanks to my family, Sandy, Eugene, and my mom for making me who I am. And then also to my dad, who's watching from above, feeling very proud, I'm sure. And we're gonna start getting anyway. And I'm sure he's got a karaoke mic in his hand and he's ready to sing me a song, like a little congratulatory song. So anyway, thank you very much. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Annie. I totally believe that they watch us from upstairs. Totally. Donna Stewart was resident futurist at KNSD San Diego, the NBC-owned station where she worked for just over 3 decades before retiring in September. Donna began her television career in 1982 when she worked as a video editor for TV stations in Phoenix before joining KNSD San Diego. She intended to get her undergraduate degree in communications, but she changed to information technology because she believed her real-world experience in the newsroom was more valuable than anything she could get in a classroom. The switch to IT allowed her to anticipate rapid changes in electronic journalism and news technology, and that facilitated her transition into management. Donna became news operations manager in 2007. She scouted new technologies, influenced investments in equipment, reassured producers that they would survive the transition to new gear, and trained team members on new workflows. Donna received 3 Emmy Awards, a Golden Mike, a National Press Photographers Award, and several San Diego Press Club Awards during her career. She was known as a generous leader and collaborator who helped those on her staff, as well as up-and-comers hoping to learn. Congratulations, Donna, on your Women in Technology Futurist Award.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate this so much. This truly has come as a surprise. And she mentioned that it was a surprise for her to get this, and actually listening to the credentials of everybody that's on this, that receiving this award, I feel like I'm not even sure what I'm doing here, to be honest. But this is, and I guess everybody else was showing off there, so there's mine. Was on the shelf a second ago. I just want to say thank you so much. So I want to start by saying thank you to Jay Curian from Laticu. She's the one that nominated me for this, and then I just, like I said, so surprised that I was considered in the same category as all the women that have received this award. I am very thankful to my employer, my former employer now, Nbc Universal. You see, have a couple of people here that are from that organization, and you can see that they really do a lot to support women and women of color to being in roles like this. So I want to thank my former general manager Todd Maktari and Greg Dodson, the news director, who's been the longest standing news director in the organization for sure, and he has been one of my biggest supporters through all of this, and I've learned a lot from him. And so anyway, I just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome, Donna. Your team obviously disagrees that you don't belong here. The Women in Technology Leadership Award recognizes women who have substantially influenced the development of media and entertainment industry technology. A TVNewsCheck profile called Marcy Lefkowitz a woman who isn't afraid to ask questions. This tendency has made her an important figure in news workflow development and also in the revolution in media distribution that's underway. I personally encountered Marcy 8 years ago for the first time when TVNewsCheck was developing its News Tech Forum conference. I was networking with senior engineering executives in the industry, looking for speakers, and one of them said, well, you have to get to know Marcy Lefkowitz. She's changing everything. Marcy had recently finished overseeing workflow development for Fusion, a news network created by a joint venture between Disney and Univision. Rather than ordering equipment for the new facility and then figuring out the workflow once it was installed, Marcy worked with the journalists to design an efficient workflow and then bought the equipment to fit it. What a concept. The path she was forging married operations and engineering functions into a new role. Disney noticed and drew her into another much larger project that would lead to the launch of DC3, the company's new technical hub near Houston. After working on an overhaul of distribution for the Disney's networks, Marcy spent months in Houston bringing that massive, years-long project finally to fruition prior to its launch in March of this year. Marcy's tendency to ask questions began during the years she worked as a successful television producer. When she moved into technology and operations management, it set her apart as a leader in the media and entertainment industry. Today, Marcy is involved in consolidating technologies and workflows across the media supply chain. She is also Disney's point person on ATSC 3.0. We are confident, Marcy, that you will continue to influence the world of media and entertainment technology and to help an industry challenged on too many fronts to find the answers it needs to successfully move forward. Congratulations on your 2021 Women in Technology Leadership Award.
Oh, thank you so much, Kathy. And thanks to everyone at TVNewsCheck. And also thanks very much to the sponsors of this event. It really is truly an honor to receive this award. And I'm especially grateful to be receiving it with such an inspiring group of women. Donna, Annie, Yushi, and Rose, congratulations on your well-deserved recognition. Annie and I used to work together at Disney, and I've been a huge fan of hers since the day I met her. She was telling us about this new thing called IMF, and she helped everybody understand it. It's this hugely, complicated new standard by comparing it to a s'more. So I love that because, great nerds make technology accessible because they focus on how tech advancements can make our work more satisfying or broaden our reach or improve our audience's experiences. And all of the recipients of this year's Women in Tech Award have made unique and lasting impact in their space. But when I learned that I'd be receiving this award, it was surprising to me as well. And it naturally led me to reflect on my career path. I've had a pretty good run at Disney between ABC News and network technology and operations, and now in the new DMED technology team. And I hope there's still a good chunk of runway ahead of me. But I do want to say that in all of those years, I have never worked for a woman. It took some courage to make my voice heard along the way, but like most women of my age in this position, in this industry, I've been offered some extraordinary opportunities from some terrific men. When I was a union editor at World News Tonight, John Arrowsmith was the director of operations, and he wasn't dismissive when I asked to be invited to meetings. He found value in my perspective and opened up a seat at the table for me. And that's really what I needed to turn my career and my contributions to Disney in a new direction. So I try to reward that faith in me by working really hard and motivating project teams of technologists and operations folks to think a bit differently about how they confront challenges and work together to craft solutions. I've worked with great teams, I've worked with great friends in the industry, and they've all taught me so much. And that remains true today. So I want to acknowledge my past bosses, my current leadership, Brad Wall and Chris Lawson, and all my colleagues who challenge me every day to do more and do better. And part of doing better is making an honest commitment to promoting women leaders in media technology and operations, because we still have a lot of work to do as we strive for equity in this space. And finally, I want to thank my family. Growing up, my parents and my sister Lori made me feel smart and capable, and they set the expectation that I would find a fulfilling career that made me feel proud of myself. So my work has always figured very prominently in my life. And I have a husband and 3 daughters who didn't act patient and forgiving. They were proud and supportive. I wanted my girls to see when they were growing up that 2 parents can be equally devoted to career and family. And my husband, Stephen Saltzman, was always a true partner, not just in amplifying that message, but in living that truth with me. And now I have the pleasure of watching Sylvie, Charlotte, and Abigail encourage each other as they forge their own careers. And it's hard to think of anything that's more gratifying. It is the most gratifying feeling. So I do have my award here. Thank you all. This is really great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marcy. We're now going to segue to our conversation with the 2021 honorees about their predictions for 2022. Stay with us and remember to thank our sponsors when you speak with them. They are Avid, National Teleconsultants, Cavell Mertz and Associates, NBCU, and SIMPTE. Don't forget too, the 2022 Women in Technology Awards are just 7 months away. We're launching balloting this week, now that we have all our honorees in the spotlight. Alyssa is going to put a link in the chat in case you'd like to download the ballots and nominate yourself. Don't be shy about that, or a colleague. The 2022 awards will be presented on April 26th during the NAB show at the Las Vegas Convention Center. We hope to have many of the 2020 and 2021 honorees in the room with us for photos and videos and a round of thundering applause. Now for our conversation with the honorees. I'm going to be asking questions, but the honorees know that I'm hoping they're going to ask one another questions and comment on one another's ideas and predictions. It is a conversation. Marcy, I'd like to start with you. In your world, what are the issues that are most interesting now and going into 2022?
I think that what's really interesting is that, the COVID, like, it accelerated the maturity of a lot of technology, I think, and it made our organizations a little bit less shy. I don't know if that's the right word, but of embracing some radical changes. And these are not technologies that are new, that were new in the past year. These are technologies that had been around, but we didn't really embrace them completely, like things like cloud-based workflows and remote workflows. And, these are things we've been looking at and like dipping our toes in for years and using them in a good but kind of limited way, I guess. And seemingly overnight, they became not only just like accepted, but like fully operationalized. So I think that what's kind of cool is that, like, our industry tends to be pretty conservative about the way we roll out new technology. And, now that we've crossed this threshold, I think that we're going to be challenged, to really push harder and to be less conservative. I think that, we're going to just be pushed to do more. They never say like, thanks, great job. They say, oh, that was great. What else can you do? Show me more, do better. And I think that, they're not going to let us be as conservative in the future as we have in the past. They're going to make us be more agile and more aggressive because we've proven that we can do it. So, I've got this title, Tech and Workflow. It's kind of a unique title. And I think that this is going to be a year where a lot of people embrace the tech that we have and think more critically about the workflow. And like, are we using the technology to its fullest, to the greatest benefit? Are we being efficient? Are we thinking expansively about the applications? And, are we avoiding changing things because we're afraid of, disrupting our user base? And I feel that because the people who work for our teams have been really, really challenged. Like, they've really risen to the occasion this last year. And you don't want to, you don't want to disrupt them. You want to make their lives better. But, we're going to have to keep going. And we're going to have to figure out, how we can build upon this last year. Where can we unify and where can we consolidate our workflows? Where can you automate? Where can you eliminate unnecessary touch points? Like, we're just going to have to be really, really focused and practical, I think, in our approach next year.
That's interesting. You're saying that senior management has noticed that things can move a lot faster. Is it senior technology management, like the CTO people, or is it the CEO crowd that have gone, oh, I can make money with this? Which is it?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's
Really?
everybody. I definitely think, one of the nice things about this is that it, I've always been a huge fan of engineering and technology and operations working, side by side, hand in hand. And this past year has made us do that in a productive way. That's kind of a cyclical relationship. Sometimes it's going really well and sometimes there's some tension there. I think that this last year proved that we can work really well together to accomplish great things quickly. And that's because the leadership on both of our, above both of our our verticals is asking us to do that. They're asking us to work together and to create a larger impact.
Annie, you come at this from a cinema point of view, and media too, but your focus is cinema. And you're involved in a lot of efforts to make what we see on screen better and moving workflows into the cloud. What do you think is going to be the most important trend or trends in this kind of technology in 2022?
I think 2022 will just be yet another stepping stone towards the Movie Lab's 2030 vision, which hopefully we'll get actually by 2025. I'd like to see that. Yes, because here's the thing, like Marcy said, things are accelerated, right? I mean, the Movie Labs paper was actually written before and released before the pandemic hit. And, since then, I mean, it's just amazing, like, all of this adoption of remote workflows, right? Things that people had said, oh, no, that'll never work. We could never work remotely, right? And that sort of thing. And we did it because we had to. And so it just accelerated, and really technology really enabled all that. So I think, it's just 2022 will just be a step towards things, though. I don't imagine like there being such great advances that we're just going to, like, for example, achieve the 2030 vision, right, in 22, but we'll actually be able to start working towards it. So for example, like I think the real-time rendering, also known as video game engine technology, will actually become more ubiquitous, in filmmaking. There's a ton of stages that are building these LED volumes. So assuming that production continues to go as bonkers as it has been, I see a lot of more usage of that. But then also people are going to figure out like what works for it, what doesn't work, for LED walls. And, and it's not just the LED wall thing. It's also like just using game engines for like previs or tech viz, trying to figure out, how to do your shoot ahead of time, virtual location scouting. It's an interesting tool. It's not going to take over the entire world, but it will be a tool, for filmmakers and for creatives to use that can play a larger part. And then I think we'll also start seeing the start of machine learning really affecting our industry, whether it's like data analytics or synthetic beings, generating crowds, those kind of things. I think we're going to just start seeing that application. And also, I just wanted to mention, Marcy, I completely forgot about the s'mores analogy for IMF. So thanks for reminding me about that. Now I'm kind of hungry for some s'mores.
That was the first time I met you, and it was remote. And that was real. Annie presented remotely, and that was a pretty unusual thing that many years ago. So it's like come full circle.
So I don't know what a synthetic beam is, Annie. What is that?
Synthetic being.
Being. Oh, being.
Yes, being, not being.
All right.
Yes. So just synthetic characters and that sort of thing.
Aha. All right. Cool. Interesting.
Yes.
Donna, news workflow has been changing a lot for more than a decade and continues to change. What do you see happening in 2022? I know you can speak from retirement here, so you can be unabashed. What's going to happen to news workflow next year, or news operation, in terms of important changes?
It's interesting just hearing Marcy and Annie speak. Sorry, so sorry.
It's okay.
See, retirement already has turned my brain into mush. Again, it's the pandemic has forced us to do things that we didn't think we would be able to do, and I just was shocked at how seamless it happened. I remember sharing with you that a few years ago, our director of technology at our station was interested in trying to figure out how we could have it be possible for freelancers, people that didn't necessarily work physically in the station or even physically in our time zone, be able to work as editors. It was specifically, this was for video editors, to basically sign up for a schedule. We send them equipment, we teach them, train them on our system, and then they would be able to use the stations would then be able to use these people on a schedule. And it didn't work. The technology was not 100% there. The workflows that we were using at the station made it actually would have been more work for the people in the station to have these people out and, you know, freelancing to be able to do that. So but that was the beginning of what we ended up having to do in 2020, because suddenly no one's allowed in the building. Editors aren't allowed in the building. Writers aren't allowed in the building. Producers are producing from home. Directors are directing the newscast from home, you know. And so the technology changed, or we figured out how to make the technology work for us to be able to make that possible. I think so that was the one thing. So now we are now able to actually, you know, when we're not doing freelance, we actually have our staff, you know, working remotely and being able to successfully do what we need to do. The other thing that is changing for us in news is being able to, not changing, but that we're trying to accomplish is being able to feed the beast. So, you know, as we all know, nobody is turning on the television at 6 o'clock to watch the newscast. Everybody's picking up their phones and doing whatever, and they want it when they want it. And our job is to get it on those platforms as quickly as possible. And so the idea that we have the cellular bonded technology that allows somebody from a phone to do a live shot, you know, we don't need to have a big live truck out anywhere. So all of those things are, I think the biggest goal right now is being able to get things directly to the website from the field, so they don't necessarily need to go through the middle manager of, you know, of middle management of actually editing or compiling this stuff to get it onto the website or onto an app. So I think that, and I think we're getting there, you know.
And that would be like streaming straight from your device, could be a phone,
right,
to the website, and that they can do that now, right? Is that
they can, but there's still a lot of there's still a few little hoops to jump to get it. It is not as seamless as we would like it to be. There's like our web team would like it to be. But it's getting easier, you know. It's getting easier, but so those are the kinds of things that I think. And then, you know, you kind of asked the question earlier, like, well, is this the technical people that are trying to push this, or is it the CEOs? And, you know, and you know, Annie was right, or Marcy was right. It's both. It's both that things that we're trying to accomplish. Like, how can we do this cheaply and make money on it? And you know, to the point of our personnel, how can we make their lives easier? We should be making their lives easier. So we're asking more from them for having to feed all of these beasts, but we have to make it easy for them to be able to do that, because ultimately, at least for TV news, the biggest money maker still is what comes out of that box at 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Yushi, ad tech comes up often at industry events as an area of challenge, to say the least, for media companies. What do you see as the most important trends for ad tech coming in 2022?
So yeah, I agree with Marcy and Annie, and also Donna just now, that the pandemic actually have accelerated a lot of things. So during the past 18 months, people staying at home and actually watch more TV, no matter what form of TV it is. And we are actually seeing it, like TV viewership has been boosted. Mm-hmm. And there's also an explosion of different type of streaming platforms out there. So I think like the changes that used to take years, now are only taking a couple of months to happen. And we're seeing like different type of shifts. For example, people are shifting from traditionally age, gender-based targeting to a real audience-based targeting. People are shifting to buying multiple screens across screens. People are shifting from measured by usual GRP-based, rating-based, to impression-based. And also with the deprecation of a lot of third-party tracking cookies, now the importance of the first-party data becomes like really, really critical. Mm-hmm. And we also see shift from top of the funnel only measurement to the full funnel proof of performance. And with all these complexities, then automated workflow is another critical thing. So I think with all of these, next year, I believe what we will see is we'll see more and more unified cross-screen audience-based planning and execution. There has been a lot of like challenges in doing so. For example, on the delivery infrastructure, traditionally your living room television is not addressable. So you can't easily target on the actual audience you want to target and also measure who has been watching what ad. But this year, like the delivery technology actually has changed a lot. For example, like FreeWheel, we work with a lot of MVPDs together to make addressable technology available across many MVPD footprint. And that will be largely available next year. So we'll definitely see a lot of the traditional linear inventory turn into addressable inventory. The second challenge was the audience identifiers. So in order to deliver audience across screens, you need to be able to identify the same audience when they're behind different screens, when they're using different identifiers. And this has not been easy because previously we had the third-party tracking cookies, where like if you're opening a web browser, you are like carrying the same cookie around. But now with the deprecation of that, we need to now join a lot of first-party data in a secure way, because those parties do not want to have their data leaked to other parties. So there has been a few key players in this area that are working together this year. So next year we'll probably see some more scalable audience workflows to support cross-screen and audience-based cross-footprint inventory.
That was a really good description of what's going on right now. I'm just wondering, Yushi, I know the technology companies can make this all happen. I know also that the advertising community and the networks and the station groups, cable operators aren't always eager to change. Do you think they're going to change too, or is the technology going to be waiting for them next year?
Yeah, like in this industry, especially in the TV side of traditional TV side of things, there are a lot of legacy technologies that is hard to move. But like efforts has been spent in the past years already to try to get them move slowly. And we have seen some parts of the ecosystem started to change. And so that's why I think like next year we'll probably see like somewhere from a quantitative change to a qualitative change next year, where a lot of the inventory becomes like addressable and becomes audience-based. And also we're seeing like tools helping people to make the move. For example, like when you're selling your traditional linear and digital together, then you need a different set of tools to manage your inventory and to manage your sales, manage like how well your campaign is working. And these tools, of course, it will definitely go beyond humans' computation capability. So that's where like machine learning and other advanced type of algorithm will come into play to help you better achieve your yield, better achieve your advertising KPIs. And with all these tools, it will definitely make people like more comfortable and easier to adapt to the shift.
Well, that's I'm going to hold you to that. It's very interesting. It's interesting too that there you see more first-party data. That's as a story for TVNewsCheck. Rose, catch us up on the world of streaming. What are the most important trends you're going to see, or the industry is going to see in the world of streaming in 2022?
Yes. Sorry, I also have lost my voice, so not the best of days. Hold on. So 5G is going to be a massive game changer. Buffering is a thing of the past. It's going to become streaming more available in a lot more territories and in a lot more areas that you wouldn't necessarily think of having streaming video. So whether that's on trains, automotive, even on airplanes, more so, people being able to access and tap into their streaming services versus kind of being force-fed a particular type of content. One login is a very big topic right now. As consumers have access to more and more streaming services, it's just not ideal to log in to every single streaming service when you get a new device, whether that's a phone or a tablet or a TV. And so there are some really great technologies, one that Screen Hits is unveiling, and with our partners, that allows people to have one login that gives them access automatically to all their subscriptions in every single device. And that's going to be very important because, as we all seen with Sky Glass that just recently launched, it's not just about watching TV on a TV in your room. As people get more accessible and having TV on the go and having this 5G, and that's going to even increase as time goes by, they're going to want to have instant access to their multiple streamers. Also, we all have heard about the fragmentation and what's happening in the market, and consumers are at the point of consolidation. And so they've had so much interest of so many different things. So you're going to have your big behemoths that are going to still kind of stay at that forefront, leading the change that we see from pay TV into this new world of television. But you're also going to have a lot of niche players that come in and pair with them, and that's going to take form in bundles. So as customers start to look at how they can acquire all these streaming services and their live TV in a new package and what that looks like, you're going to start to see kind of like a one place, one everything, and that's with bundles. And so we're not really seeing it right now in the industry. People are kind of going one by one to find offers. They're going on Google, where can I find the best offer for that? That's going to change. And this is really exciting conversations right now in this space. And technology is really paving a way for that, because it's not as simple as, here's a bundle and I get access to everything. It's really going to kind of come back to that one login, getting access to all these different streaming services under one umbrella. So that's something that's happening right now. And I also think that, our world is becoming more blended, and people are traveling more, they're living in different places, and not being able to really get that content from your home place or your homeland is going to be a thing of the past. And we're going to start to see local programming from where you are. So for example, I'm living here in the UK. When I start to travel to different territories, my account will always be locked with my subscription from my country. And right now, what's happening as you're crossing territories and borders, the rights issue comes into play. The shows that you are watching are no longer available in that territory. That is going to be a thing of the past as the studios and streamers start to own their rights and they go direct to consumer. They can control the rights issue a lot better. And that's going to be a huge game changer for the consumer to be able to keep that content.
That I hadn't thought of that. That's absolutely brilliant. Makes a lot of sense. Marcy, I was reading in the TVNewsCheck profile about you that content acquisition and distribution workflows grew up in silos, but that the technology exists now to eliminate those silos. How? And what? Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Finish your
No,
question.
I'm how, and what does that mean for people working in acquisition or distribution?
I think that this is not a problem that's unique to Disney. I think that Disney may be kind of an extreme example because we're such a big, enormous media organization. But, the whole silo thing, I don't think it's unique to us. Like, we are a mix of different companies that have come together. We've got ESPN and ABC, and we have the Disney cable channels and Freeform. And recently now we have National Geographic and FX and Hulu. So, in addition to bringing together all of this, great content from all of these different organizations, we also brought together a ton of great people, and they brought their own tool sets and they brought their own way of doing things. And on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, and this, again, I think is common across media organizations. We built up historically different workflows just around our different distribution partners. So like we have we have differences in the way we deliver content to linear versus nonlinear, for example, or for an MVPD versus a DMVPD, which now, with 2020 hindsight looks, stupid. It's because we couldn't see that big picture of where the industry was headed, 15 years ago. So we built these systems incrementally. Sometimes we put new verticals in place, sometimes we put different teams in charge of these different little slices of, the distribution pipeline, of like their responsibilities within the distribution pipeline. And we didn't have the foresight to, think of them as a single content delivery system. So that, it's a headache, right? All these entities, all these endpoints have, they have different metadata schemas, they have different processes to get from here to there. And, it's totally clear that this doesn't make sense anymore. It's not really easy to unwind all of that without inflicting pain in the transition. So, I never want to inflict pain. That's just not what I'm in the business of doing, if I can avoid it. So yeah, I do feel confident that we have the tech and we have the right people to set up a better way of unifying this landscape. I don't think it's really complicated from a technology standpoint, but we really do need to set ourselves up better for the future of like where our business is headed. Yeah, but it's not going to be easy. I really think it's going to be much more complicated than it should be, because the transition of keeping us whole in the process is just not going to be easy. It's going to be hard.
It's a people issue, not a technology issue, it sounds
It's
like.
a process. I mean, it's not the people either. Like, I'm not accusing them of being resistant to change. It's not that. It's that they individually have these purpose-built tool sets for their one, like their slice of what they do. And when you have purpose-built tool sets that you're used to using, that you've got all this muscle memory around, and that you may have even automated quite a lot in your little world, and that bit of automation may not work for everybody. It's not like we can just look around and say, it's not like a menu where we could say, I'll take 2 of those and 1 of these and 1 of those and mish it all together and say, see, everybody, now this is perfect. We took the best of everything and what everybody's doing, and now we're going to put them all together and it's going to be better for everybody. It doesn't really work that way. Like, it really is kind of painful in the process, because sometimes not at the end, but in the transition, it gets harder. Like, you have to support the old while you're going to the new, and you have to, I hate to use the term like get to the lowest common denominator. It's not that. Like, you really do want best of breed. You don't want lowest common denominator, but there are differences. There are incremental differences among people's business and among, the different endpoints, but you can't get so lost in the weeds of making it perfect for everybody that you don't make it, streamline it, make it more efficient in the process. So, like any change, if you do it right, that painful transition is pretty short. And then, 3 weeks into the new thing, people look back and they have like forgotten the way they used to do it, because they're good with the new way. But, as we're anticipating that, you still have to, you do worry as much about the transition as you do about, the better future.
Wow, it sounds interesting, and lots of stories for TV News Check, just kind of about the process. Annie, talk to us about the cloud. The Media Lab's white paper envisions filmmaking really from beginning to end in the cloud. What do you think is the industry's biggest challenge, putting all of its workflows for content creation and distribution in the cloud?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the main challenge is not the technology. It's really actually the cost of cloud. For those of us that are, doing production on-prem currently, we don't track how much data goes in and out of the server or the storage, when it's being used. And in order to make the production in the cloud feasible, there's just got to be another business model, I think, in my opinion, with how how cloud is charged, basically. And I think there's a lot of benefit you can get from the cloud, right? I mean, better remote collaboration, integrity of your data. And, but the problem is that we pay a certain amount today, and we're just probably unwilling to actually pay much more than that, So my guess is like, no one's really going to want to pay more than like maybe 15 to 20% more than they do now for those extra benefits. But that could also be a really tough sell to the cloud providers that are just trying to, run a business. So yeah, it's funny because it's again, like the whole transition from legacy to like the new and consolidation of the silos. It's not a technology issue. It's more, something else, in this case, cost, I think.
So when I hear about the cloud and the cost, I always hear that it's about changing TV workflows to cloud workflows so that you understand that you're using up all that data. You're saying, nah, the cloud people have to get used to us. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I think so. That is what I'm saying here. I'm going to put a line in the sand here, people. Come on, cloud providers. No, I think, because the thing is like yes, it's a different way of running your workflows and how you process the information. And there's benefits, right? As we mentioned, I mean, Rose was just mentioning about 5G and Donna was actually talking about how, being able to just upload those videos and edit them, and everything, like without having these giant trucks anymore, right? So there is some good stuff. And I think you just have to find the happy medium, right? Between what you pay now for your workflows versus what you would do in the future, plus any benefits that you would get out of it. But, paying way more is just, I think it's just cost prohibitive for many companies. And it's just not going to float. Like if you can say like, well, I can just pretty much do the same thing, but not have to pay that cost, right? And just do everything on-prem, you're going to lose those benefits. But at the same time, you still can do it. It's just, maybe you're not as competitive, as others at this point. So it's a tricky, slippery slope, but it is something for sure that I think is the biggest unknown when it comes to doing these cloud workflows is really the cost.
Interesting. Marcy, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
It's funny because I think I'm going to probably say something very similar to what I said in a news tech forum, 5 or 6 years ago. And it's still true. Like the cloud is sexy and it's enabling, but it is expensive. And, we have to be data driven about what tools we use for what purposes. And in many cases, it's just simply, unfortunately, it's just simply not worth it. Especially for the media industry is unique in this because like our files are big, right? And for for the cloud providers who, and for good reason, they charge based on, storage, like file size and, egress. So like every time you put something in and take something out, the meter's running. And it's not so easy because you want these workflows to be enabling. So you want to give them to everybody. And, if your whole employee base has access and rights to just, stay home and pull media in and out of the cloud. I mean, there's a non-deterministic, there's no other business model where you would just sort of give your employees a blank check to play around with stuff without kind of knowing what it's going to cost at the end of the day. That's not how operating budgets work. You need some predictability and to be able to forecast, how much am I going to spend on this workflow? And is it worth it? Is the benefit worth it? And I think that what I said probably 5 or 6 years ago is in some cases it is, and in some cases it's not. And so we're going to we're still here today where we kind of have to pick and choose where is it worth it for us. And boy, the cloud workflows have gotten easier and better and more secure. So I would really like to use them more because they are so enabling. But we need to, there needs to be a business model where they can come to the media and entertainment space and tailor something for us, I think, from a business model perspective.
So Donna, you've been nodding your head vigorously. Do you have thoughts?
Oh my God, I love Marcy so much right now because she's speaking word. And honestly, this ties right into, I mentioned Latiku and Jade Kurian and Paul Adrian. They're the guys, the CEOs of the company, and they are our cloud-based archive system. Well, they're not supposed to be our archive system, to be honest. They are supposed to be our video conveyance system to get stuff from the field back to the station, like that. They have somehow figured out how, to my knowledge, we started with them, I want to say 2014, maybe 2015. Jade, you can correct me if I'm wrong if you're still on the webinar. But nothing that we have transferred up there has been deleted yet. And so we got into bed with them at the very, very beginning stages of their process and of their system. And what was interesting to me is, it was all the owned and operated stations and the Telemundo stations for NBC Universal. And we used to have a battle about who was using the system the most. And it was like, you were winning if you were using the most and you had the most uploads and such. So we were keeping track of that. Well, now with so many stations involved in this becoming our primary way of doing it, now it's kind of like, who's kind of using it the most? And it comes down to that, how are we paying for this? And Latiku has to figure out how to make it work their while to have that space for us, and we have to figure out how are we using the space. We want to use it for everything because it is so convenient and it is the best way for us to get video back and forth. So yeah, that is going to be a challenge, to kind of figure out how we can make that workable for both sides of the equation is it's kind of it. But yeah, it's, kind of like what Marcy was saying, it truly makes life easy for the end users to be able to have that access but yeah.
It does. And when you talk to cloud providers, no names, or people involved in cloud production, they'll say, well, you just don't use your encoder 24 hours a day. You just use it at 3 a.m. when it's not expensive. And it sounds like that's not good enough for you, Marcy, or you, Annie. Am I? Okay, so it'll be interesting.
And there's certain things you can do to try to take advantage of the off rates, right? Or like, unused capacity of machines and things like that, right? But you can't always plan on that, right? I mean, there's things our world is really unplannable at times. So, you need to have a more, like Marcy was saying, like something that actually works specifically for our industry. I mean, I don't think it's too much to ask to, tailor a business model, for each industry, because we've all got our own unique, things and crazies and stuff like that. So it just would make sense. But I think we'll get there eventually. But right now it's still questionable.
Interesting. Yushi, I want to ask you about NBCU, a sister company, and how they've embarked on this really big effort to use automation to streamline sales functions, and also a very visible effort to improve audience measurement. I'm just wondering, what do you think most Freewheel's platform has started out serving digital media, but is adding more legacy media. What most urgently needs to be changed in sales workflows, whether national or local?
So I can't really speak for NBCU because that's really not under my purview. But I think for any type of advertising workflow, scalability is something people are craving for. So you have a workflow, and what you want the workflow to be is efficient and also scalable. And in order to scale, then that's where like automation comes in. And automation really gives you two benefits. One is it is less error prone because you automate a lot of stuff. So it's less prone to human errors. And then the other is it is easier to create more data and utilize more data. But the challenge here is it's not always easy to automate. It's like sometimes people think of automating a workflow as just take whatever we have as like a manual workflow and then change the integration points into like programmatic APIs, and that's called the automation. But actually that's not quite right for a lot of times, because there are many reasons that a workflow is what is it today, because people are so used to it, because like there's a lot of like upstream and downstream dependencies on this piece. So there's like, that gives you a lot of constraints when you're trying to automate it. And so if you just try to automate a manual workflow, that might end up giving you a very, very customized and fragile integration between systems. And then you get stuck. You can no longer change. Because at any point you change, you're going to break your downstream or break your upstream. So I think one important thing during this automation progress is actually you need to make changes. You need to think what really you want to get out of this workflow. And you need to examine your whole system, like all the way from your upstream to your downstream, like where are the critical points? Where are the things that has to change? And you have to change from human, how to like who use this workflow, to the consumer of this workflow. And so automation is just not automation, it's like changing a lot of the thinking and sometimes the type of business we're doing. And not being afraid of changes is also another part of like embracing automation.
In other words, the industry can't have 100 different business practices for each little step along the way. They have to maybe agree, which is hard.
Right.
Okay. Rose, you may have already answered this question when you talked about 5G, but quality of service is, of course, a rising issue in legacy media because they're moving so rapidly into direct to consumer. Are there quality of service issues that you encounter regularly that the industry needs to address in 2022?
Yes. Yes, I think that the algorithms for recommending content across platforms that have a lot of different content is an issue, because people are going to these services and they're not able to find the right content that they want to watch, and they're getting quite frustrated with it. Going back to 5G, there still is buffering issues that are happening on the technology side. As things are moving very quickly, consumers, the metadata is not being updated as quick as it can be. And so consumers, for example, can go to watch something and then all of a sudden it's no longer there. And they also, when they're switching between different devices, they're not getting that same experience. So these are some of the challenges that consumers are facing on the streaming side.
So that's really interesting. They're facing problems having to do with the industry moving really fast, not necessarily if 5G solves any buffering problems, there are still issues. Who does the metadata have to be updated manually, or is that a machine learning thing? Do you know?
No, it's it's machine learning. I mean, from a lot of the partners that we work with, or we are provided with their metadata, it's updated as quickly as possible. So once it's updated on their platform, it'll be updated on our platform. But a lot of people are working with a lot of different companies. So when you think about Samsung, for example, or LG, and consumers, if they're going to a universal search, for example, and they're looking for something, Samsung may not get that automated, updated metadata. And so the industry right now is looking for ways to make that more streamlined and quicker, so it does happen instantly for the consumer, because it is quite frustrating when you even go to something on Netflix and then it's no longer there, or you just saw it on BBC, but now it's switched over and you're like, I have one more day to watch it. Okay, where is that going? These are very, it's frustrating, but it can be solved with technology. And there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes to make metadata work in a better way, from the recommendation system, because as consumers now have multiple, for example, users in one house, And there's now 5 to 6 different channels within one app. We see this with, Amazon, for example. Disney, which is amazing, has, a lot of different services within Disney Plus. But as different people start to use those services, the algorithm has to be very quick to not confuse that user profile and to continue to recommend the right content. So all this is going to be updated. And I would say in the next 12 to 24 months, we'll start seeing that. And I also think as the industry moves more to a social integration, how do you engage, how do you interject social into television streaming, whether that's watching something together, integrating a lot of the short videos that we see on TikTok and YouTube. How do we bring that into the more long form programming on streaming? Because that's going to become a huge competitor in the streaming space, because it's going to be, well, how do we compete now with all of these different eyeballs that are watching, short form programming? And so using that technology to bridge the two together, it's going to be a fascinating 24 months, I think.
I agree. Can I just say, this is the most intelligent conversation I've heard about technology this year. I want to do a final lightning round so we can wrap up. Marcy, let's start with you. What is the biggest technology challenge the media and entertainment industry will face in 2022?
I think scale. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge. Like meeting all of our consumers where they are, because people are in such different kind of psychological places right now. That's normally not a technology problem, but we can't be leaving anybody behind. So, some people want to go back to in-person experiences, and some people want like really sophisticated experiences brought to them and in their homes, because they're not ready to go back to in-person experiences yet. We've got threats to journalists and journalism. And so we need to make sure we're serving our news division, in the ways that it needs to be. We need to be thinking about, I guess what I'm saying, like, we have to be really, really agile and make sure that we can meet the demands of our consumers at scale with all of these distribution sectors. Because it's going to be demanded of us. But I guess if you think about it, it's kind of like it's a good problem to have, because there's such a huge demand for content right now.
Amen. Annie, biggest challenge for the industry in 2022?
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about this question, and I actually don't think technology is the issue. Kind of like what Marcy's saying, though. I guess it kind of is, but it's like, because I think we're going to have 5G, and we're going to have cloud or remote workflows, real-time rendering, all this machine learning stuff and everything. So like the technology is there. I think it's the real challenge is like what Marcy's saying is like, what is our new normal, right? We just got off of everyone working from home, for example. So we had to figure out that whole thing. But then now that everyone's going to be going back to work sometimes, and then some people are not, you're going to have this hybrid environment where people are in person, but then also there's still people that aren't. And so that's yet another new way of having to work and figure out like, well, how do we become more efficient, and how we, keep the collaboration and all that stuff happening. So I think that's going to be the tricky part. And I think technology will play a part of that because it'll enable it. But it's still, how do you bring people together in this fragmented environment, So hopefully, technology will be an enabler for that. And we always do find a way through technology. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Donna, do you have thoughts on the biggest challenge for 2022?
Honestly, Marcy and Annie said it well. I think the biggest challenges are going to be figuring out, just exactly how people are going to get their jobs done on a daily basis. We had kind of talked at one point about the fact that a lot of people are leaving the business because of the pandemic, and they figured out that there are other ways to do things. I think a lot of, especially in the journalism business, a lot of factors led to that decision for some people to choose to. I think we had about almost 20% loss of personnel in our newsroom. Almost. Not our newsroom. I'm sorry, at the station in general. And
really?
A lot of that came around, I don't know specifics. I am guessing that a lot of that came around with people being able to work from home and liking that, and then the company wanting people to be back in the station, and they're like, you know what, I bet I can find another company I can work for. So I think there are a few other challenges, kind of like what Annie just said about it's not necessarily about the technology at this point for 2022, but trying to figure out how we can make, get our qualified people able to do what they love to do and in the manner that we need them to do that work.
You're making my editors sound like geniuses now, because they are preparing a webinar series for next year called How We Work Now. So I'm thinking they're right about that. Rose, can you wrap up for us and give us your thoughts about?
I actually think the biggest challenge is going to be out of control growth. I think that there's so much opportunity right now, especially on the streaming side and the global reach. There is so much opportunity. Can people keep up? Will they keep up? Will they miss out on opportunities? So this is a space to watch, but that I think is the biggest challenge.
Okay, I'm going to ask another person to wrap up because I forgot Yushi. Yushi, biggest challenge in 2022.
So I think in terms of advertising, it's definitely around audience. So everything around audience measurement, audience data, how you forecast, how you execute on audience. And also agree that this is not only a technology problem, because this is really a business problem. How you can convince your buyers, your sellers all agree on the same model, then you can transact.
Yeah, it's a really interesting challenge. So we're out of time. I want to thank our honorees, Marcy Lefkowitz, Donna Stewart, Rose Halse, Yushi Shu, Annie Chang. I think I mentioned Donna. Thank our sponsors. We love them. Avid, NTC, Cavell Mertz and Associates, NBCU, and SMPTE. We're looking forward to seeing you on April 26, 2022 for the 12th annual Women in Technology Awards to be presented in person, we hope, at the Las Vegas Convention Center during NAB show. Join us there. Have a great afternoon and evening. And everyone, thanks a lot.